Since Russian President Vladimir Putin initiated his special military operation against Ukraine in February 2022, the conflict has largely settled into a brutal stalemate. Russia has continually sent waves of soldiers and equipment into Ukraine, while Ukraine has fiercely defended its territory, occasionally launching counterattacks to regain lost ground. For nearly 30 months, the war has followed a predictable pattern, mainly because Ukraine was limited in its use of Western-supplied weapons against Russian targets. This restraint aimed to prevent escalating tensions in Europe. However, the situation has drastically changed. In a significant shift, US President Joe Biden, along with other NATO allies like the UK, has given Ukraine the green light to strike directly on Russian soil. This bold move shatters the previous red line that had held Ukraine back and signals a potential turning point in the war. Ukrainian forces have now crossed into Russia, specifically targeting the strategic region of Kursk. This marks the first time since the war began that Ukrainian troops have moved beyond their borders. So, what does this mean for Putin? Why Kursk? And most importantly, what could this development signify for the future of the Ukraine war? Let's explore these questions, starting with the most pressing one. What is happening in Kursk? On August 6, 2024, Ukraine breached the thin Russian defense lines separating Ukraine from Kursk, allowing its soldiers to enter Russian territory for the first time. Initially, this breakthrough went underreported, possibly because media outlets assumed Russia would quickly repel the Ukrainian forces. However, this did not happen. The Guardian was among the first to report the incursion the following day, noting that the fighting in Kursk had entered its second day. Reports suggested that Ukraine's forces had advanced up to 9 miles into the Kursk Oblast, aided by a highway running north of Sverdlikovo, a Russian border village near a critical natural gas transmission hub. While the reports were initially unconfirmed, both official and unofficial Russian sources acknowledged that the incursion had occurred, involving several hundred Ukrainian soldiers who exploited the fact that the border between their country and Kursk is one of the least guarded along the entire front line. Russia quickly claimed that it had neutralized the incursion, with its defense ministry stating that it had destroyed 50 armored vehicles and inflicted 260 casualties on the Ukrainian forces. Ukraine, however, remained silent about the operation. By August 8, other media outlets, including El Imand, picked up the story, with El Imand claiming that Ukraine had sent 1,000 troops into Kursk rather than the several hundred initially reported. The outlet also provided more details on Ukraine's actions once they crossed the border, backed by over 2,000 soldiers who remained on the Ukrainian side, possibly preparing to follow the initial one. 000 into Kursk, Ukraine crossed the border with 10 tanks and 20 armored vehicles. This immediately cast doubt on Russia's claim of destroying 50 armored vehicles, highlighting the difficulty in verifying the details of what has transpired so far. Once Ukraine crossed the border, Russia declared a state of emergency in Kursk as Ukrainian soldiers advanced on several localities, including the small town of Sudzha. These areas were bombarded with Ukrainian missiles and drones, reportedly causing at least 5 deaths and over 30 injuries. The August 6th incursion also sparked fighting in Oleshnya and Goncharivka, both in the Kursk Oblast, with Russian soldiers in the latter region reportedly being surrounded and captured by Ukrainian forces. The following day, Ukraine advanced further, capturing around 20 poorly defended Russian villages, including Gornal, Darinu, and the previously mentioned Sverdlikovo. These captures also allowed Ukraine to take control of the Sudzha gas station, a key natural gas transfer point overseen by Russian energy giant Gazprom. This station is one of the few entry points for Russian gas into the Ukrainian gas transmission system. Securing the station could put a dent in Russia's lucrative energy market, as it is vital for transporting gas into Europe. NPR published a report on August 8 confirming El Imand's claims of 1,000 Ukrainians entering Kursk, citing General Valery Gerasimov, Russia's chief of general staff. This marked the first time Ukrainian soldiers had entered Russia since the war began. Before this, Ukraine had supported small groups of Russian exiles conducting limited cross-border raids, but this incursion into Kursk was different. It represented a significant escalation, leaving Putin in a difficult position. After spending so much of the war portraying Russia as an unstoppable force that would eventually overpower Ukraine, He now faces the challenge of explaining how Ukraine managed to take Russian territory. To make matters worse for Putin, the incursion is far from over. At the time of writing, Al Jazeera's live tracker on the Ukraine war reports that Ukrainian soldiers are still fighting Russian forces in Kursk. Mikhailo Podolyak, a Ukrainian presidential aide, attributed the incursion to Russia's aggression, stating that the root cause of any escalation, shelling, military actions, forced evacuations, and destruction of normal life, including within Russia's own territories, lies in Russia's unequivocal aggression. So, the details remain unclear. What we know for sure is that Ukraine is in Kursk with up to 1,000 soldiers having crossed the border into Russia, accompanied by tanks and armored vehicles, and supported by missiles and drones. They have used these weapons effectively, capturing up to 20 small Russian villages and a key Russian gas station. This leads to another crucial question. Why did Ukraine choose Kursk? The White House has been asking this question as well. On August 7, the US think tank, the Institute for the Study of War ISW, published an update on the incursion. It confirmed that US intelligence indicates Ukraine has penetrated at least 2 of Russia's defensive lines in Kursk and captured a stronghold. The ISW also cited satellite imagery and geolocation footage, which confirmed the reports that Ukraine had taken dozens of captives and now controls the Suja gas distribution station. These early reports prompted the White House to reach out to Ukraine's leadership to inquire about the objectives of the incursion. Speaking on August 7, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre noted, "We're going to reach out to the Ukrainian military to learn more about their objectives." She also emphasized that the White House supports common-sense actions to stop Russian attacks. The use of the term common sense may hint at what the US thinks about the incursion. After all, there seems to be little immediate military value in capturing territory within the Kursk Oblast, apart from the gas distribution station. And even then, the station's value is minor. It primarily sends gas into Ukraine and has likely seen minimal use since the war started. A closer look at Kursk itself reveals that it holds minimal strategic value. The oblast covers 11,582 square miles and has a population of just over 1 million, making it far from one of Russia's major population centers. While its hilly terrain and multiple ravines could offer some tactical advantage to Ukraine, assuming it intends to use Kursk as a launching point for further incursions into Russia, this seems unlikely. A force of 1,000 soldiers is not what a country sends when it intends to take over an entire oblast. Kursk is primarily an agricultural center, with farms covering around 77% of its territory, mainly growing sugar beets and wheat, with some fodder crops. But again, this is not enough to justify an incursion aimed at permanently holding the captured territory. So, what is Ukraine's goal as it moves deeper into Kursk? The answer may not lie in Kursk itself, but in the strategic impact the incursion could have on other regions. According to the BBC, the goal might be related to an entirely different piece of territory, Donetsk. Donetsk, part of the broader Donbas region, has been a key target for Russia since Putin's special military operation began. Symbolically, Donetsk holds significance for Russia, as a large portion of its population is ethnically Russian and speaks Russian as their primary language. While ethnic Russians do not make up the majority of Donetsk's population, the region has strong ties to Russia. Donetsk has been at the heart of the conflict, with Russia pouring tens of thousands of troops into the region and developing a nearly impenetrable front line. The capture of Donetsk would be a significant victory for Russia, setting the stage for further advances into Ukraine. However, since Ukraine's incursion into Kursk, Russia has been forced to redeploy some of its troops from Donetsk to respond to the new threat. This could weaken Russia's position in Donetsk, allowing Ukraine to launch counterattacks and possibly regain lost ground. In short, Ukraine's incursion into Kursk appears to be a strategic move to divert Russian forces away from key areas like Donetsk. By forcing Russia to spread its troops thinner, Ukraine may be creating opportunities to exploit weaknesses in the Russian front lines and launch counteroffensives in more strategically important regions.